Have you ever thought about what is the number one thing that separates the rich and the wealthy and the poor and the wealthy? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to cover in this video. Over this video, I'm going to share with you the exact mindset and what wealthy people believe that give them the ability to create more with less time. Stay tuned. So in this video, I'm going to go over top 5 things that the wealthy do that separate them from either the rich and the middle class and the poor. And I want to start with number 1, this verse in the Word of God, which is in 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. Wealthy people, number 1, they don't believe that money is evil. Now, that's very important for me to tell you, especially if you're someone that is of faith or you have a faith background. Like me, for example, when I first got started in entrepreneurship and just as a father, as a husband looking to provide for my family, I had to overcome the hurdle and the mindset that money was evil. I didn't really understand what the key was to really understand what God says about money until I read it for myself. You see, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10, it says that for the love of money is the root to all evil. For some reason, I just believed that money was evil. So subconsciously, I was actually hurting myself. I would mismanage money. I wouldn't really properly manage the money that I had because I thought in my subconscious, well, I'm a good person and money's evil, so I can't be associated with money. And this was subconsciously hurting me. So if you still haven't consciously made an effort to understand that money is actually not evil, this could still be hurting you as well. So the wealthy, they don't believe that money's evil. They believe that money is actually not just a tool, but they believe that money is good. And that leads me to number 2. Wealthy people believe that money is actually good. And let me give you a Bible verse for it. If you go to Genesis chapter 2, verse 11 through 12, you're going to read that it says that God created these rivers. There were 4 rivers specifically. And there was a land that he created. And the word says that in that land there was gold, and that God saw that the gold was good. So this is very important because it kind of supports pillar number 1. Like, why would God say that money is evil in the back of the book, but then in the front of the book say it's like good? God has always said that money is good. You even go to the book of 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐿, and you're going to read that it says that money answereth all things. And wealthy people, they believe that money is good, and you should too. Number 3 has to do with something that a lot of people, they don't know, because to be fully transparent, in the school system, they'll never teach you this. Number 3 is wealthy people believe that thinking is the key to wealth versus working for it. What do I mean by that? Well, if you go back in history and you study a man's life by the name of John D. Rockefeller, you're going to find out that he was very influential in many different industries, and one of them was the actual education system in America. And back in 1902, John D. Rockefeller, he said that he wanted a nation of workers and not a nation of thinkers. So when you look at the society that we live in today, the majority of the school systems out there, college, university, they're really teaching people how to be workers, but they don't really teach people how to think, especially not think about financial independence or health independence for that matter. So when we look at the wealthy, we see that wealthy people, they think to produce money. It's not just about working, but it's about thinking right. And I believe that when you take someone's ability to think, to be creative, to really like think through problems, you take away a superpower. Because some of you are literally sitting on ideas that are like worth so much, but maybe you haven't really expressed those ideas or elaborated or established any of those ideas because maybe you've just been focused on working and working and working, and you don't have enough time to even spend on working on your idea versus working for somebody else. And I remember there's a gentleman, a billionaire. I was reading his life one day, and there was a point in his life where he was in his company and he was too busy. He was doing too much. And he actually fired himself because he was doing too much. And when they asked him, they said, "Hey, man, why did you fire yourself?" He said, "I fired myself because I didn't have time to think." Now think about that for a second, no pun intended. He fired himself so he can literally sit down and think about the future, think about innovation, think about what can come. I mean, in this space right now that we're living in, AI is coming to really change the game. And it's important to sit down and think about your ideas, your talents, your vision, your purpose, your mission, the things maybe that God had put you on earth to do, and really think about those things and the impact that they can have on other people's lives, but more importantly, your life financially. Because one of the things I love to do with our students and our family members is I love to help them create what we call an inheritance plan, because an inheritance plan will always come first when you think of one. The word says that a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children, and nobody just leaves an inheritance just by accident. It's not like someone's going to leave wealth to their children, meaning their grandchildren, by accident. You do it by planning, you do it by vision, you do it by insight, and you do it by thinking. Now that leads me to step number 4, or the 4th reason why millionaires are really separated and billionaires are separated and the wealthy are separated from the rich and the poor and the middle class. It's because number 1, really number 4 is my favorite one, it's the mindset. Now when I talk about mindset, I'm talking about your beliefs and your emotion towards money. You see, the wealthy, they believe that they can have more, therefore they have more. It's very hard for you to out-earn your mindset. That's why mindset is so important. That's why a lot of people that win the lottery, they typically lose it within under 3 years, and people that receive a big inheritance typically lose it because they don't have an inheritance plan, because they don't have the mindset, the proper mindset to not only capture a lot of value, but also keep. And many times they need help with structure, like making sure they have the right structure in place to keep the wealth that they've been producing. So step number 4 is very important, and never underestimate mindset. Never think that you've arrived to say, I don't need help with mindset, right? Mindset is one of those things that we constantly have to renew, and we have to believe for more. And remember, before you can, you first have to believe that you can. I always tell my students this: mindset always precedes, or it comes before, the manifestation. So like before I got to $1 million, I first had to get there in my mind, and I had to actually think about $1 million. Now it's a reality in my life and much more, but first I had to get there in my mind, and then I saw it in the physical. And it really, really is important to hold on this point. Step number 5 has to do with something that's so simple that most people they oversee it, they overlook it. And that's being able to create multiple streams of revenue. When you look at the wealthy, their income is typically derived not by what they can just do. It's not like they're depending on one source of income. They typically have multiple streams of income. And if you've read and done any history or research, you'll find that it's typically anywhere from 5 to 7 income streams that allow them to actually produce wealth and store wealth and build assets that continue to give them month over month, year over year, interest, compounding, and helping them grow. So these are the 5 things that really separate the rich from the wealthy and the poor from the wealthy. So these are the 5 points that I typically recommend when I'm helping somebody that's just getting started, or somebody that's already have some stuff figured out and they're looking to really build wealth and like scale past 7 figures and 8. This is what I go over, because if you don't have these 5 in alignment, you're not going to be able to build on the other fundamental principles and laws that can help you to support and build what we call generational wealth, what I call inheritance wealth. So if you love content like this, click the link below to subscribe for more.